Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Well, I've been really just enjoying this day. It's really beautiful that the energy that we are cultivating together, And just think of this is this is the community center here, and the room when we arrived, it's kind of quite basic, And then we bring the joyful Dhamma flags and the generosity and the community and the just good spirit, and some of our volunteers getting up at ridiculously early times in the morning to get here, our AV team, and driving hours and hours to get here yesterday. So just and all of the energy and many days, and I think for Kate many days and many weeks actually of focus and effort and clear intention and generosity to support. So it supports us as people, as practitioners in here in the Vihara, but it's also supporting the flourishing and the well-being of the individuals, but also of the Sangha, of now and potentially for future. And that's something that it's always been a wish of mine, even before I was a nun, actually, when I used to visit monasteries, and mostly they were monks' monasteries. There weren't many places where there were women. There were 2 in England, in the lineage that I trained in, and there were 4 for men, and then hundreds and hundreds of other monasteries for men around the world, and very few for women. So it was always a sort of wish of mine, even as a layperson, to be able to support the women, to have a bit more possibility, have more room to be able to practice and study and deepen and awaken, really. And it's been an interesting journey over these years. But it feels like that intention is still carrying through, and there's been times when I felt like, oh, well, maybe I should just go and meditate quietly somewhere, and stop trying, but it just somehow doesn't leave me, this wish to open up the space for more women to be able to practice and ordain or not ordain, but I particularly focus on those who are wanting to ordain, make that possibility, and train and awaken. And we all have this potential, everyone of all genders, of all ages, of all races, of different abilities, physical and mental abilities. Sometimes there are some mental abilities that will get in the way, disabilities I should say, the more extreme ones. But most of us have the potential to awaken, or at least move towards awakening. And the Buddha saw this, I think sometimes because I often reflect on the Buddha and his, his life and the time that he was alive in and what he was doing, and that insight that he had. Not that I can understand it fully, because it would take a Buddha to understand, But I always have this sense that he was seeing things so clearly, seeing things the way they are. And seeing how most of us, human beings, are not seeing so clearly. That we're seeing through the clouds and obscurations of our karma, you could say, of our accumulated karma. And some of it's good, some of it's not so good. And so we're seeing a limited version of reality, almost sometimes it might be like looking through a crack and thinking we can see everything, but then if we can just make that crack a bit bigger and then maybe just break down the wall, wow, there's a whole universe out there that we didn't see. So I feel like the Buddha was seeing that, living in that, and seeing how we are missing it. We're missing it because we're caught in this small story of me and mine and should and shouldn't and can't and all of that stuff, those stories. And so we miss the beautiful potential of our life. And in these coming together like this, when we come together like this, that it sort of gives an opportunity to open that up a little bit more and to remember again what our potential is. And there are many ways that this happens. And Ayya Anandabodhi was speaking about about generosity and relinquishment. So relinquishment is like an ultimate generosity, or even when we give something, there has to be a certain relinquishment. So looking at little ones giving, today being asked, like learning how to give. And what's your daughter's name? Zia, little Zia, and I could see when she was like, oh, do I want, this is a really nice bag, I'm not sure, do I want to give it, not sure, and then they're like, oh yes, okay, and the mum's going, yes, keep giving it. So then she gives the bag, and then it's like, yes, it's good, it takes relinquishment, you have to relinquish what you have in order to be generous. And so to learn when you're little is so great. And nature, nature is constantly giving. It's a constant exchange. That is how things are. And the Dhamma is pointing to the way things are. So nature is constantly giving. It's constantly giving and receiving, actually. And even a tree will drop its leaves, and that will nourish the roots of the tree, that will give life. So it's just this constant exchange going on. And then, of course, the exchange of the breath, which I so often speak about. That we breathe out, and the trees breathe in what we breathe out. They breathe in the carbon dioxide, and they breathe out oxygen during the day, and we breathe in that oxygen. There's this exchange going on, and also with many other creatures and beings. So this is happening all the time. This is nature. It's a constant act of giving and receiving. And somehow we forget that we are nature. We think that we like to be in nature, or we look at nature, or we don't like being in nature, or whatever it is. But actually, we are nature. This body is nature. This mind is nature. So we are nature, and the natural way of things is to give and to receive, is to be in this process of interdependence. And then the Buddha is also pointing to a much bigger giving or relinquishment, and we sort of need to work up towards it. It's not, work towards it, because we can't just give everything. We can't just give everything up. But through our practice of learning how to let the heart open and enjoy giving. So I didn't always know that. There was a time when I was younger, when I was a sort of child, and sort of maybe up into my early 20s, where I didn't really know the joy of giving. I didn't understand it. I was a little bit suspicious. I was a little bit suspicious of people who encourage generosity. And the Buddha even says, if people are stingy, don't teach them about generosity, because it's just going to make them more irritated. He was really clever, And so, but if people understand the joy of generosity, then to talk about generosity, it just brings up more joy, So there was a time when I didn't know that joy, and there was a sort of idea of there's some catch, or they're just out to get something and for nothing, or something like this, and so there was a stinginess in my heart, and a sort of a holding back, and I always remember the moment where that sort of shifted, where there was an understanding of actually to give is beautiful. It was in a monastery, and it's just realizing nobody was asking anything of me, and nobody would know actually whether I gave anything or not, but there was an opportunity there to give, and I didn't have much to give, but I just gave what I had, and then there was this shift in the heart of just that's so nice. What a lovely thing to be able to just give, and then the heart just opening to that quality of generosity, and then that's like it's a real foundation for the practice, for the path, because without that, when the heart's still guarded and suspicious or cynical, then we can't really give of ourselves to the Dhamma. We can't really relinquish what we need to relinquish here in our own life. And the Buddha is really inviting us to relinquish, to relinquish what we're holding on to. So the Venerables who live with me know that I'm one of those people. So both Venerable Satima and Venerable Silananda they're what I call rid people. They're good at getting rid of things. They don't like to have too much stuff, They kind of get rid of that. No, don't need that. And that makes a really clear, lovely clear space. They have lovely clean rooms. They're beautiful, clear, no clutter. And I'm not one of those people. So I was like, oh, so-and-so gave me that, and that was so nice, and that reminds me of so-and-so at that time. And so I'm more one of those people. I have all these little things, little knickknacks and little things, and from different times of my life, things people have given me or I remember or whatever. So, so they're much more advanced than I am in terms of moving things along. And that's a really good quality. And so there are the things that we accumulate, and then there's the stuff that we accumulate in the heart. What are we holding on to in the heart? And that's really important to have a good look, because the heart can get quite cluttered, and it can be that we have a nice, sort of clear room, nothing much. We haven't got much that we're keeping, but we're keeping a lot in the heart. And I'm not talking about my dear sisters now. I'm just talking about people, all of us, any of us. That we can keep stuff in here, and some of it's good. We might remember a really sweet moment this morning. I think it was this morning we were talking about grandparents. The importance of a kindly grandparent and how influential that can be. Especially if you're in a difficult family situation, then you've got a kind grandparent, and they kind of give you something. They give you a reminder of what's good, and they give you an affirmation of your own strength and beauty, and then you can keep that in your heart, and it's nourishing. It's like a gift, something you can keep and take care of. But then there are also other things people give us, like difficult feedback, criticism. The haters? You can get painful stuff in the heart. So are we keeping that as well? Often we do. We just end up keeping all of that in there too. The resentments, the criticisms, the negative perceptions that we might have of somebody, and then that's all in there. We clutter it all up. So we clutter our heart up with all of this unhelpful stuff that might be very believable. We might really believe it. I might think we have to hold on to it, we want to hold on to it, but actually it's getting in the way of the relinquishment that we really want to realize, which is the relinquishment of this small story of me and mine. So it's really important to have a look, a really honest look in your heart and mind, and see what are you holding on to here. And this is something that is sort of inescapable in monastic life. You sort of have to face this stuff. And then when you find it, so you don't want to be afraid to look, If you're afraid to look because you don't want to find anything unpleasant and you just want positivity, just give me positivity, I don't want to hear any of that stuff, then it's all just sitting in there. It doesn't get a chance to get cleared out. So it's that first noble truth, just to take the risk of turning towards what might be not so pleasant, and then looking at it and then seeing, what do I want to do with this? Do I want to keep hold of this? Is this really benefiting me in any way? What if I could just take that and take it out of this heart and just let it go? When we let things go like that, not when we throw them at people, but when we let it go, it just gets recycled. Because nature's always recycling things. So it's the same with the thoughts and the intentions of our heart. When we can see them and let them go, then it's like the energy that's been keeping them there in our heart is freed up to be anything. It Can be anything. Yeah, cheering me on. It can be anything. So it's really important to have a look, what are we holding on to? And is it helpful or is it harmful? Because sometimes it is helpful to hold on to things for a while. We hold on to the good things and the sweet things and the encouraging things, or maybe we need to lean on something for a while, and then at some point we can let that go too. And the Buddha is pointing to really like an ultimate relinquishment. So the relinquishment of I-making and mind-making. It's relinquishment of many things, but of I-making and mind-making. And I recently heard this expression, that I think it was from I heard that it was Ajahn Chito, which I just thought was so brilliant. The me bag. That we have this me bag, this like bag of me, that's me, and that's me, and that's not me, and that's me, that's me. And that we carry this bag around with all this stuff that we call me. So in the Buddha's path, we're learning how to take the scissors and cut away at the bottom of that bag and let it all tumble out and no longer be me and mine. So it's really important to have a look, what are we identifying with? What are we holding on to? What do we maybe knowingly or unknowingly make me and mine? It's a mix. It's always a mix. Some really good things, some really inspiring things, and then some kind of like painful things, and maybe very small perceptions of what me is. And me always is always a bit small. It's always smaller than what we truly are. It's always smaller than what we can be. So in this day of giving, we're reminding ourselves of that experience of relinquishment, of letting go, of giving. And it's relinquishment, but it's also a sort of when we come together like this, a sangha, there's a what do you call that? It's like it multiplies. So one person, so like Kate, you step forward to offer the almsgiving, and you've worked really hard also at it. It's put a lot of work and a lot of care and effort into it. And if you were just sitting here on your own, it would still be a blessing, and there'd still be a lot of generosity, and it would still be a special day. But yeah, it would. But we're sitting here with this beautiful group of people who've come together. So it's like what is that word? It's just like it builds on itself. It's like any one act is beautiful, but when we come together like this, it's just like it potentizes the field of generosity, and also the field of sangha. So, and right now, so actually also Kate had this idea, to offer the almsgiving, and sort of sprung it as a bit of a surprise. We didn't know it was going to happen. We thought maybe this year there won't be one, and then it's like, it's happening. And so you had that thought, you had the thought of giving, that intention to give, and then there's been the accumulating of what's going to be given, and then there's the giving, which has just happened today. And then there's the sort of sweet aftermath. I hope it's sweet. The sweet aftermath, the sweet what's left in the heart from giving. And then also we can reflect, and any act of giving that we've made in any day, any time, anywhere, to anyone, that we can remember that. And then there's also a joy that arises through thinking of that, remembering that act of generosity. So it's sort of, it just keeps going. It keeps going. And it's a support for our path of awakening. So I mentioned that how my heart didn't know generosity, and then how it experienced that shift, and it was very different. And then that opening, I could really say that's been a foundation for my spiritual practice, in both giving and receiving. Because learning how to receive is also an important part of it. So that's true that can be true for everyone, that the giving that we do and the acts of generosity that we do, and many people actually. I notice, going around Port Townsend, how many generous, kind people there are doing good here, and I'm sure that that's true in many places where people work, and there's many. There are a lot of good people in the world. So this recollection of the goodness and the generosity and the acts of generosity and the act of letting go is a support for this greater letting go that the Buddha is pointing us to, which is the letting go of me and mine. I am. I want. I don't want. I must. I mustn't. It's the letting go of the sort of small, tight, heavy story of me into just like it's into that. It's into a relief, into a greater space. And I think we can all experience that in moments. So maybe in meditation, maybe in a moment of giving, maybe sitting in nature, or just experiencing something that brings a sense of well-being. We can experience that letting go. And then we sort of contract again into the small story, and then so we have to keep remembering. We have to keep recollecting those moments of that we've experienced already of relinquishment, of letting go. Because eventually, when the conditions are ripe, there will be a true letting go of everything that's in the way of true freedom, letting go of greed, letting go of aversion, letting go of delusion. It takes a while, but it's a real worthwhile effort, and that we can abide in the true nature that we are, that the Buddha has always been pointing us to. So I'm very, very grateful for this day of gathering and generosity and coming together. Yeah, that we can remember that and touch into it in our own hearts. And may this day, everything, all the goodness of this day, may that support us, each of us, in our practice of returning to our true nature.